The post office is tonight under criminal investigation for potential fraud over the wrongful prosecutions of hundreds of branch managers. Many were jailed, some went bankrupt, and others took their own lives after being accused of stealing money because of a faulty computer accounting system. Shaman Freeman-Powell reports.
The computer system Post Office spent an arm and a leg on is faulty.
An ITV drama based on real-life tragedy.
You're responsible for the loss.
I haven't got that money.
Telling the story of how a dodgy IT system led to a scandal that saw hundreds of postmasters being accused of fraud. Janet Skinner was among those jailed over an alleged shortfall of £59,000.
Everybody, including myself, have to live with those memories. That will never, ever, regardless of the amount of money that people receive, that will never make that right. And I think the thing what will make things a little easier for people, including myself, is accountability. And for people to be held account for what they've done for the past 2 decades. They've persecuted and destroyed families, and they've taken away people's livelihoods.
Since the 1990s, at least 700 postmasters were prosecuted after Software Horizon suggested money was missing from their books. Victims were forced to cough up cash they never actually owed. Many were jailed, others bankrupted, and some took their own lives. Since the dramas aired, around 50 new potential victims have come forward. And now New Scotland Yard say they're on the case. The Met have confirmed it's now investigating potential fraud offences linked to the money that those convicted were forced to pay back, whilst also investigating potential offences of perjury and perverting the course of justice. For those campaigning, it's a step in the right direction.
This police investigation, I think, is so significant. Yes, it's been going on since January 2020, but the idea now, they're looking at the concept that individuals or the Post Office as an organisation defrauded its own staff by demanding money with threats from them. It could lead to some very interesting places in the criminal courts.
The Post Office says it accepts it has a responsibility to ensure such events can never happen again. And the inquiry, which will explore just how much the Post Office knew, is expected to conclude this year. Shaman Freeman-Powell, Sky News.
Rishi Sunak has tonight said he wants to focus on tax cuts and indicated the economy could be the battleground for the next election. But another by-election and questions tonight about the integrity of one of his ministers could threaten the Prime Minister's plans. Meanwhile, new information has come to light which questions his commitment to the Rwanda policy when he was Chancellor. Here's our chief political correspondent, John Craig.
Hello, Kingswood.
Just hours after former Minister Chris Skidmore became the latest Tory MP to trigger a by-election, Labour MPs were out campaigning in his constituency near Bristol. But on the day a national insurance cut came into force, the Chancellor insisted the economy's doing better.
Today's cut in national insurance by 2% means that a typical family with 2 earners will be nearly £1,000 better off this year.
Labour claims the national insurance cut is a raw deal because taxes are up. But Mr Sunak says 27 million working people are better off. But Mr Sunak's own record as Boris Johnson's Chancellor is being questioned after leaked number 10 documents from March 2022, seen by Sky News, revealed that he doubted whether the government's Rwanda scheme would stop small boat crossings. One number 10 briefing paper said, Chancellor wants to pursue smaller volumes initially, 500 instead of 1,500 this year and 3,000 instead of 5,000 in years 2 or 3. Another document read, Chancellor is refusing to fund any non-detained accommodation, e.g. Greek-style reception centres, because hotels are cheaper. Doubts over the boat's policy has prompted demands for Mr Sunak to toughen his Rwanda bill.
I hope that he will strengthen the bill that's coming through Parliament, and I've been very clear that if he doesn't do that, then I will lay amendments to the bill next week to make sure that it is the piece of legislation that's necessary that is sufficiently robust to do the job that the British public expect.
But Labour, also campaigning in a by-election in Wellingborough, claims the Rwanda scheme is a waste of money.
We know from information released about the Rwanda scheme that hundreds of millions of pounds has been spent and not one asylum seeker has been sent there. The scheme is a failure.
In a respite from his problems, past, present and future, Mr Sunak welcomed new world darts champion Luke Humphries to Downing Street. He'll hope to be on target come the general election. John Craig, Sky News.
And let's go live to Westminster and speak to John live. He's there for us now. John, more developments and more problems for Mr Sunak tonight.
The Prime Minister's come out fighting in an interview in the Sunday Telegraph in which he has pledged to cut taxes, but to do that, cut public spending and particularly targeting welfare with cuts there too. Now, the Prime Minister has said that he wants to cut taxes. He wants this to be a dividing line between the Tories and Labour at the next general election. In his interview in the Sunday Telegraph, he says, "I want to keep cutting people's taxes. There's no way we can do that unless we restrain the growth in the public sector and government spending. That will be a contrast between us and the Labour Party at the next election." He's delivered a similar message in an article in The Sun on Sunday. No doubt the talk of tax cuts will delight right-wing Tory MPs, may alarm some Tories in the Red Wall seats, however. But whilst the PM's come out fighting with this message about tax cuts, there's another headache for him because one of his junior ministers, that's Paul Maynard, who is a junior pensions minister at the DWP, MP for Blackpool North and Cleveland, is in trouble over expenses claims. Now, it has been alleged that he has been using taxpayers' money for political purposes, which is against the rules laid down by the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority. Remember, that's the body set up after the expenses scandal of 2009. Well, he's under pressure from opposition MPs, Labour and Lib Dems. They're calling on the government to suspend him from the Conservative Party, take the whip off him. The government, however, has responded by saying it's a matter for IPSA. But it's yet another headache the Prime Minister could do without, as he aims to talk about tax cuts and dividing lines with Labour in the run-up to the election.
John Craig with the latest there from Westminster. John, thank you. This is Sky News. Coming up, more on the efforts of U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken to stop the spread of the Israel-Hamas war.